So, I wanted to make a quick video for you all because I was quite confused about Tribbies E1 for a little bit, and I have been seeing some misinformation on Tribbies E1 lately, and I don't want people to get that misinformation, right? By the way, if I am incorrect and someone who knows better than me knows how this actually works better, please tell me in the comments. However, as far as I've seen, I've read leakers like Hersher of Sentience. They made a video on E1 Triby explaining why it's so broken, and I believe I fully understand it, right? For this example that I'm going to be using, it will be a best case scenario, and it won't be completely accurate to every DPS in the game. However, this is just to get my point across on how it works, right? So let's go straight into it. Imagine you have a Erudition or AoE DPS who does equivalent damage to all mobs on field. And let's say in the best case scenario, there are 5 mobs on field, with one of them being a boss/elite. What will E1 Triby do? Now, what I thought before I was educated by not only people in my live stream correcting me, but as well after having watched more videos on it, I thought it was the equivalent of Robin's E1. I thought it just gave 24% true damage increase against every mob on field, the same way Robin would give 24% res pen against every mob on field for characters attacking. I thought that was it, right? I thought, oh, okay, this is cool. It's as good as Robin's E1, which is really nice and really powerful, so nothing special too much, right? However, it does not actually work like that. How it works is, let's imagine you're using Jing Yuan and you just use Lightning Lord. Let's say Jing Yuan did 100k damage to each target on field. Now keep in mind, once again, this is an example. I know full well that's quite difficult for Jing Yuan to achieve, okay? So just imagine here that he does 100k single target to all 5 mobs on field. Now, 24% true damage will be accounted from the damage that the mobs on field took. So that means 24k of the 100k would be added as more damage. However, what makes E1 Triby so special is that this increased damage bonus you get with the E1 with the true damage does not apply to the adjacent and further targets. Where it applies is that it all stacks onto the highest HP enemy on the field. Now, the reason why this is so much more broken than Robin's E1 is because with Tribby's E1, let's be honest, a lot of these AoE DPSs, they waste a lot of their damage on adjacent and further targets, with their single target damage usually being the weakest compared to blast and single target characters. However, with an E1 Triby, 24% true damage on the other 4 mobs, including the main mob. So you do 24 times 5, I believe it's around 120. So you get 120% true damage on the highest HP mob on field. Meaning instead of everyone taking 100k damage or everyone taking 124k damage as they would with Robin's E1, instead everyone takes 100k damage with the highest HP mob taking 220k. So in a best case scenario, AoE DPSs do more than double their single target damage against the highest HP mob on field. That is why E1 Triby is so broken. A lot of the time with an E1 Robin, it doesn't really make a difference with killing adjacent and further targets because their HP is significantly lower than any of the main bosses or the really good elites, right? However, this changes things quite a bit for AoE DPSs, as Tribby's E1 actually stacks onto the highest HP mob, making single target damage against like the 3 to 4 million health Kafkas and the upcoming bosses and the 8 million HP Legion. It allows you to do significantly, okay, not a little bit, significantly more single target damage to those types of bosses, right? And I know a lot of people are going to be thinking it. No, it is never worse than Robin's E1. At worst, when there's only one target on field, Tribbies E1 is completely equal to Robin's E1, according to what I've heard from leakers and the actual leakers who know what they're doing with testing, right? So in the worst case scenario, you get a 24% increase of damage on a boss when there's only one target on field, which is exactly what Robin's E1 does. However, Tribbies is significantly more powerful since your single target damage skyrockets and it's not sharing the true damage stacks across the field. So once again, this is incredibly value for AoE DPSs. Even for blast DPSs, it's still better to have Tribbies E1 than it is to have it's still better than Robin's E1 compared to Tribbies E1 for blast DPSs. It's really broken. Even if blast DPSs don't hit 5 mobs on field, they usually hit 3. And even though the damage isn't equivalent, I'd still say, like off the top of my head, you'd probably get like a 40% damage increase on single target highest HP mob, which is really good for blast characters. And obviously this is stronger than a 24% damage increase like Robin's E1 does. So quick video explaining Tribbies E1, 24% true damage from each mob hit on field, and depending on how much damage you did to those mobs, that's where the 24% will count, right? For example, the Herda does more damage single target, I believe, with her enhanced skill than she does with everyone on field, right? I don't think it's completely equal. So in this case, the 24% true damage stacks you'd be getting from the smaller mobs would be less than the one you'd get on the one you're targeting, right? However, it's still incredibly fucking strong, and once again, it is stronger than Robin's E1, and the more mobs you add on field, the exponentially stronger it becomes. Worst case scenario, it's equal to Robin's E1. Also, I have to mention, Triby is a significantly more universal harmony than Robin because her buffs are strictly respen and vulnerability. There aren't any type of characters in this game who cannot take advantage of vulnerability or respen. Not a single one. There's a lot of characters who don't scale all too well with attack or would prefer other buffs over attack, but vulnerability and respen are legit two of the most broken buffs in the entirety of the game, with the third being like true damage, which was introduced recently. So Triby is more universal of a harmony, gives 24% respen plus 30% damage vulnerability, and with the E1 gives 24% true damage that stacks onto the highest HP mob, depending on how much damage you do to the on-field mobs and how many on-field mobs there actually are. So that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to make a video real quick. Yes, Tribby's E1 is 100% stronger than her S1. Tribby's S1 gives a 48% crit damage buff team-wide, and it allows her to get energy more often. However, her best free-to-play Lycone, surprise surprise, is DDD, and DDD is rerunning on the Lycone banner within like 5 days. You don't need an S5 DDD. You could use like an S1, S2, or even S3 DDD, whatever you have on you, and it would be her best free-to-play Lycone, and it's significantly better to invest in that E1 than it is to invest in that S1, unless you want to make her do more damage, right? If you actually want to make your Triby like do significant damage every single cycle, then sure, you could go for it, but I promise you the E1 is much higher value than the S1. Now, I wasn't originally gonna do this. I literally canceled my video upload because I kind of wanted to add in my own opinion on something that I think could happen, right? This is more of a theory craft, right? Now, the reason why I'm putting this specifically into this video is because there is a chance that Casterus can be the next DPS to benefit from this the most, even more so than Herda, and I want to show you why. Now, I am going to show you part of Casterus's animation, and I want to show you something interesting. Now, if you'll notice, even though this is against one target mob, the FOV is increased to the max for this, which makes me believe that even though there's only one mob on field, this blast attack that this dragon, which is called Pollux, does is supposed to be at minimum blast or most likely AoE, meaning Castris would as well benefit massively from the E1. And I think the attack that comes after this actually confirms it, because if you see, the attack is much larger than the target itself. Look at how small this Legion boss is, and then look at the size of the beam. As you can see, way more than just around the main target was there actually the beam hitting something. And so I do think that Pollux, or Castris's attack in this animation at least, is likely to be completely AoE, in which E1 Triby would be her second best in slot harmony alongside Sunday. So that's all I really want to say. This is a bit of a theory craft that I randomly thought about during stream. However, if Castris's attacks do end up being mostly AoE, she will as well benefit from E1 Triby as her second best in slot support, with the first being Sunday. So hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good night. Peace.